What's up, guys? Americana back with another video. Let's talk about everybody's current favorite topic, and that is oil. All of a sudden, everybody is an expert on the macroeconomic implications of certain geopolitical events. You'd even think that people were five-star generals themselves. The information they think they know about military involvement, movements, war, all of these things. It's definitely a combination of a few things. But when we have the expert bros on Twitter, when we have sharp movements like you see on chart here, and when we have the fear headlines to match, it's my opinion that it results in moves that are short-lived. We alluded to this in other videos this week when we talked about the VIX, but let's run through a similar exercise with oil and show some past examples of when these experts came out of the woodwork. So let's go ahead and dive in. Alright guys, I am recording this video on Sunday night. Oil futures are up 21% to $110. Everybody was in talks this weekend about, oh my goodness, what do you think oil futures is going to open at on Monday, on Sunday night? It just seemed that it was all that anybody could talk about. So I went ahead and threw Bitcoin on chart here. I think I can go ahead and move these momentum indicators off. But I mentioned this being short-lived. Okay, I don't think it necessarily has to be the case that this is short-lived, but I want to show you why spikes in gold is not the exactly what the headlines show. It's kind of one of the main goals of this channel that I feel like I've forgotten about. When these things are being talked about so much, I want to give you guys the honest take, the honest opinion about what these things actually mean, the implications around them, because people often get it wrong when it comes to what they're covering on social media posts, what the headlines perceive, things like that. So when I say short-lived, I forget what the situation was in here. Obviously, I was not even born July of 1990. I think this was some sort of kind of similar situation though with Iran, some sort of like negotiations gone bad, gone sour, and just some sort of large random spike in oil out of those fears. Now, is that a similar thing to right now? Time will tell. I have no way of knowing that. I'm not going to pretend to be the war expert that people talk about or how they perceive or talk about themselves online. I'm not going to be pretend that I have any expertise outside of anything but economics and these charts, and specifically economic charts as well, because the charts tell you everything you need to know always. But I did want to point that out of some sort of possibility, because if Trump comes out tomorrow and is like, okay, they surrendered, everything's back to normal, this sell-off would get so intense, so fast, similar to what you see in here, somewhat similar to what we've even seen in gold and metals as well. But yeah, just wanted to point that out as a somewhat real, I won't call it possibility, but we can call it plausibility. All right, now the other thing that I mentioned is oil going up is not necessarily the worst or most fearful thing, or it shouldn't make you overly fearful, in my opinion. We have two past cycles. I also wanted to throw the Dow Jones on here as well, just to give us a further look back into the things that I'm going to cover right now. I suppose I can also mark these red, would give us a better idea of what we're talking about. But again, oil prices going up, or the initial phase of oil prices going up, really hasn't been all too bad for the market. We see oil bottomed and obviously went up in 2009 at the same time when the market bottomed from the recession, only for the market to top out and go into some sort of choppy phase once oil actually started rolling over. If you guys don't know, yes, oil is inflationary. The cost of things is going to go up, but oil prices being high also does a lot of honestly good things for the economy. Oil companies are some of the largest companies in the world. If you think they're not going to try to get as much oil out of the ground as they can while it's at $112 a barrel, you are out of your mind. They will hire people, they will bring on new projects, they will do all of these different things, even if it is short lived, to try to get oil out of the ground currently. And that's going to help stimulate more based things in the economy, things like labor, things like spending, things like investment, which is why we see, yes, even though it is making the cost of things go up, when it has happened, when it has gone up, it hasn't been the worst thing for the economy. Okay. So we've only looked at this 2008 example here. I'll go ahead and remove it. So this oil rolling over, people are getting fired, people are losing their jobs, there's less investment, there's less spending. What do we see in the market? There's obviously going to be other factors in the macro also timing up with this. It's everything is all the same trade, always. It's always correlated, despite what anybody thinks. Oil futures actually up 25%. Now that I'm looking at it right now. So looking back to February of 2016, oil goes ahead and finds a bottom. Yes, I had it on the right tick. Oil goes ahead and finds a bottom in here. Market finds a bottom. Finds a bottom. Obviously, Bitcoin and Dow Jones kind of top out in similar areas. There's other ways we would time selling the crypto market as opposed to looking at the top in oil or where oil could potentially be finding a top. But you can see this initial phase, this initial kick up in oil did get things kicked off rather nicely. All right, then what do we see in this area here? Oil prices stagnating, dropping, declining. Stock market chops to hell. Crypto chops to hell. Oil futures actually go to zero on this candle, if you guys were around and remember that. All right, now up 26%. That's crazy. But once oil futures, or oil per barrel, price of oil, found a bottom, market found a bottom, market found a bottom. Now, what has oil been doing this entire cycle? And we've talked about in other videos, the fact that a blow off top is imminent, that the people don't think we can go higher for longer. This could be early signs pointing to we're going higher for longer, and it's wrapped in fear. People are looking at this and saying we're not going higher for longer because oil is going up. Do you guys ever look at charts? Do you guys just throw something up on a chart for yourself and actually look at it? Because it hasn't been the case. Obviously, markets topping together in here, not specifically tied to a top in oil, which we've also seen in here. But we can see when oil did find a top, has been ranging in here. We've all been wondering, sitting around, why this doesn't feel like the best market ever. Why this doesn't feel like this, doesn't feel like that. Granted, Dow Jones has done better than something like Bitcoin, but thinking back to this area in here, what did we have going on during that time? Chop fest out of the market, chop fest out of Bitcoin. Obviously, 2008 is its own beast in its own regard, but declining oil, declining stocks, declining oil in 2014. Stock market, chop to hell. Bitcoin, chop to hell. So basically, what I'm saying is this is either going to resolve rather quickly and the fear is going to subside, right? Because it is some sort of geopolitical driven event like we've seen in the past. Or oil is going to continue to trend higher, but that doesn't mean the stock market is going to go down. Could end the video here, but I want to just show some other kind of fun ones as well. And this is a lesson I want you guys to learn. When you start seeing people on the internet, left and right, talk about, as if they are an expert, these niche geopolitical based topics, things like war, things like geopolitical tension, things like I guess I would say like macroeconomic factors like bonds, oil, gold, silver, from people who maybe you have noticed in the past and never really talk about those things. I know that's hard to verify at all times because you don't know what everybody talks about, right? You just see a random post. But that's why you should be verifying, oh, what's this person normally talk about? Oh, they normally talk about day trading NASDAQ futures. Why the hell are they talking about gold or silver prices on the macro sense and what that means for the economy? That doesn't make sense. Even if they're finance related, it just simply doesn't make sense. So always do verify those things. And I'll show you some other examples or try to in here. I'm going to do this exercise with silver, but gold chart, very similar as well. Gold chart is actually at these fib levels in here, and I posted a video when we got there. It's like, guys, it's about as high as I could see gold really ever going, honestly. It got full fib extensions. Wanting much more past that for any reason is utter insanity to me. But when we got up here, everybody's all of a sudden an expert on how gold is mined, how long it takes, how it's processed, or how long it takes, how it's processed, what it's used for, the shortage of gold, all of these different factors that I mean, you need very, very detailed, specific knowledge, expertise, and experience in the field to know these things. And Joe Schmo on X is dropping a post about how AI chips is going to send gold to $15,000 while we're at while we're at the highest fib extensions that we have, 4.618 fib. Top signal, for sure. Very much a top signal. Same thing with silver. Silver is used for this, that, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, it's had a 48% sell off since then, currently down 33% from the highs. If I went and slapped some fibs on here, how I'm currently looking at silver is, in my opinion, it's going back to $48. If it cannot flip these fib extensions, or sorry, fib retracements, excuse me, if it can't flip these fib retracements, yes, in my opinion, silver is going back to retest its all-time high, probably chill around in there for a while. I have videos and I talked about when metals top out after parabolic runs. That signals risk on. So that also ties into the oil argument that we talked about earlier in this video. To me, signals risk on. Now, when silver bottoms in here and oil has started to roll over and Bitcoin's hit fib extensions, I'll be saying the inverse. I'll be saying, hey, look out below, equities and crypto and any sort of really heavily risk on asset is likely going to be falling. But that's just another example of people being these macro experts. The other one is the, I guess, 10-year yield would probably be better to look at. But if we dive in here and we look at, where are you, April? April of 2025, right in these 2 points in here. All you heard online was the implications of Trump's gonna blink. China owns majority of our bonds. They're gonna start selling it off, and blah 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 blah. Everybody was a bond expert. I have another X post on that. I won't dig it up now, but I actually did like the Google Trend search for how do bonds work, because normies were hearing about this so much, the bond market, 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 and when those things are happening tied in with these political type events that nobody actually has any control or inside or asymmetric information on at all. People just need a reason to explain why price is going down besides the president is being a dickhead, right? So, and yields ended up topping out in there. What happens from here is kind of a different video, but moving down from those levels. So those are just kind of some examples that I want to talk about. Just be wary when people who are not so expert but want to get in on the hot topic of the time start making those types of videos. So I think we can go ahead and wrap it up there. These have been going on long. I've been trying to not make them go on so long, so I do apologize for that. But if you guys need anything from me, just let me know in the comments. I do have a free Discord as well, no charge to you guys. Hop in there, ask me questions. There's a bunch of free stuff in there for you guys as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.